Hey there friends, Dave Paulides here for Missing 411 and the Canine Missing Project. And this is Huck. Huck's doing great. She's happy. It's cool again outside. It got down to the high 30s today. And she's just all precious. She's a good girl. Yes, a good girl. Yes, a good girl. Yes, her name is Huck L. Berry. Yes, that's Huckleberry for short. And we're going to get right into it today. I'm going to talk to you about what's going on. Some people asked me the other day, hey Dave, why did you get a dog? And that's a very good question. Why do people get pets? I would ask you that. I'm somebody that had a dog most of my life, and they always brought me joy. I think it was good to have a dog when the kids were growing up, teach them to respect animals, teach them how to take care of something, teach them how love is a two-way street from animal to human and human back. And a big one was teaching patience when something doesn't pay attention to what you want them to do. And rather than yell and scream because that doesn't do any good, you got to learn how to work around the animal. Yeah. Sometimes I lay in bed at night and I think about how lucky I am that I have Huck. And I'm blessed. Now, some people made some comments on the video segments, and they said, you know, we've been paying attention and we read a story about a dog, a canine, cadaver dog, finding a body way down in a valley. And all the times we talk to you, your dogs aren't finding the people in the cases that you write about. And that's sort of the missing 411 dilemma. It's one of those profile points that I talk about a lot. You're right, it's not normal. And in my years as a policeman, I've said, I don't ever remember a case where we put a canine on a scent and the dog didn't find the suspect or the victim. It's quite a conundrum. Now, the two cases that I have today, one of them has to do with a little girl. Actually, two of them have to do with a little girl, both from the state of Ohio. Ohio is a fascinating place to me. I spent 4 years of my life, a good portion of it, in Ohio when Ben was going to Miami University in Miami, Ohio, playing ice hockey for, at the time, the #1 team in the nation, the Red Hawks. And I got to like that place. Almost every time I flew into Dayton, Ohio, and every time I walked through the airport, you know what I saw? Photos of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Yeah, isn't that interesting? And had a lasting impact on me. The first case has to do with a little girl I wrote about in Missing 411 Law. Her name was Sandy Robison. She was 3 years old, missing April 14th, 1949. When I read about this case, in my mind, I thought, this girl never had a chance in life. Now, as a policeman, I went to a lot of calls where kids would get in fights with their parents. Parents would get all frustrated and call the police, and we'd calm everybody down and try to leave a peaceful surroundings. And it was very rare. I think of only one time where I was called to a house where it was a foster child and a parent getting into an argument. Being a foster parent is a really, really tough thing. Because many times they're a stopgap in a lifelong issue. The courts, the police put the child in the foster home, sometimes for a month, sometimes for a year. But then after you grow to have that bond with that child, they leave many times, unless you initiate adoption. It's very hard. It's a very tough position. And I always respected foster parents for doing what they do, because without them, there'd be no place to put these kids. And that's what this story is partially about. At 6 months old, Sandy Robison was placed in the foster care and in the home of a Mr. and Mrs. Earl Foster, who were farmers near Donaldsville, Ohio. Mr. Foster had a large farm. It was almost a mile long in one part. It was thin and long. 5 miles northeast of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. That's where this farm was at. Now, why is that important? Because this happened on April 14th, 1949. I'll give you the answer to that, but I think some of you already know. So on that date, April 14th, 1949, Sandy's father, a guy named William Robertson, had taken off from the area. Nobody knew where he was, and he'd been gone for 3 weeks. Articles stated that he had a mental condition. Her mom had a severe mental health condition and was hospitalized, which is why the Fosters were her foster parents. Now, Sandy lived there for 2.5 years on the farm. Knew the area, knew the animals, knew what he was growing. And out in the back, there was a swing the Fosters put in. And she was playing on the swing at 2:30 in the afternoon on April 14th, 1949. Nice spring day. Mrs. Foster just left her for a couple minutes, she said. And she came back out to check on her, and she was gone. So Mrs. Foster got Mr. Foster, and they immediately started searching the area. The barn, the house, around the house, all over. They weren't finding anything. Calling her name. And there wasn't any woods close by. And so they were looking and they didn't see her, which was a perplexing situation. Well, they searched almost till 4 o'clock, and then they called the Clark County Sheriff. First deputy arrived, understood the situation. This is who they were searching for. That was a picture of Sandy not long before she disappeared. So the deputy gets the information and makes a call for more deputies. And also makes a request for firefighters to respond and for firefighters to call their families and get them to respond. They wanted everybody out there because they knew there was a lot of area to search. Deputy takes the report. And in the back of my mind, I'm sure if I was the deputy, I'd be thinking, this is kind of weird. Little girl's been living there for 2.5 years with a foster parent. Are these foster parents good people? That's what I'd be thinking. So, fire department arrives, more deputies arrive, and pretty soon they got close to 100 people that afternoon looking for Sandy. Special emphasis that first day was made on the creek and on the banks for tracks. Jackson Farm was about 1 mile long in one part, with Jackson Creek running through part of it. And that's the part that offered the most danger in the mind of the deputies. So they were looking along the bank for tracks, everything, calling her name. Now, the meadow that the farm was on was barren. There's nothing to see in it. The foster said that Sandy would be pretty easy to spot because she was wearing a red cap, blue sweater, and a dress and shoes. And the articles all stated that the fields were barren. Remember that. During that first night of the search, 100 people, they searched a mile-long stretch of that farm and they covered it thoroughly. And then late that first night, a violent thunderstorm moved in over the farm. Rain turned to light snow for several hours. How many times have I talked about somebody disappears and the weather changes? Point of separation, water issues. Friday morning, more searchers arrived at the farm. Sheriff Jay Schumann met with the press that morning and said he was looking into Sandy's dad as a suspect and looking for him right now. He had his detectives out looking. They didn't have any idea where he was at. Sheriff also said something very strange. He said that late last night they took an individual into custody named Clovis Williams, who was an escaped convict from a West Virginia road crew who was found not very far from the Foster farm. I think that's pretty weird. They said that they were holding him in custody and questioning him. Oh, I get that. I get that entirely. Now, this is Dayton, Ohio, right here. And this is the area where the incident occurred. 4 miles north, be about in this area right here. Now, even today, a lot of this area is wide open fields. A lot of it is soybeans. So the detectives are questioning this escaped convict. They also have more detectives out looking for Sandy's dad, thinking that she might be with him. But the smart thing they did was they kept the search ongoing. They didn't hesitate. But the sheriff was focusing his detectives on the two suspects. And the searchers every morning were walking out through this field, going out and searching the surrounding area. Every day, second day, third day, they came back with nothing. They were calling Sandy's name, yelling for her, no response, no nothing. There was never a mention of using canines and never a mention of using airplanes. 4 days into the search, the Donnellsville Fire Department ordered all off-duty firemen to the farm to search. And they asked the firemen to bring their friends and family to help. That's a big effort, folks. For a little tiny community, that is a big effort. Because when you're ordering firemen in, you're paying for them. And on a little city with a small budget, this was a big commitment. Well, April 18th, 1949, 4 days after Sandy disappeared, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, firemen are going through this field, the farm field that the Fosters own. Quote, the body was found in an open field on the Foster farm. Foster told newsmen that the field had been thoroughly searched the day Sandy vanished. Foster said he thinks she must have been alive today to get into that position. Firemen walked up to her as she's laying there deceased. And she's lying on her back Her cap is gone. They never found it. Arms draped over her side, with her head tilted to the left. And she was located near the bank of the creek, with her body making an indentation in the mud. I specifically, my head went ding, 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 ding when the article said that. Why did it say that? Does that mean she fell into the mud or was dropped into the mud? Now, if you're a long-time listener, that should have clicked in for you, right? The coroner took custody of the body and transported her to Springfield for an autopsy. No, they never found the cap. They didn't say if she was still wearing shoes. They didn't say if there were any tracks in the mud leading to the body. That would have been important. The body was 3/4 of a mile from the Foster home. Somebody 3 years old should have been found 90% of the time within 2 to 3 miles of the point they were last seen, which would have been the farm. Well, the medical examiner said that death occurred Friday morning, April 15th, and couldn't be positive on the exact time of death. So Mr. Foster said that that field was completely searched the Thursday night she disappeared. They're saying she died the next morning, Friday. But they used the field to walk through to search, and there was nothing in the field. So that she should have been easily seen from hundreds of yards away. The sheriff said that all suspects were exonerated. The cause of death was listed as exposure. Friday morning, deceased. Mr. Foster made a statement to the press that the field Sandy was found in was searched Thursday late afternoon. And he stated that there was no way she was anywhere near there at that time. So this means that Sandy had to have been wandering the area where 100 searchers were there calling her name. Doesn't make sense, does it? Headlines in the Ohio paper after the body was found is "Missing Girl Offers Puzzle to Police." Mr. Foster made a statement, and he says he believes Sandy was taken and later dropped in the field. His words, not mine. That's pretty weird. So, if she was alive Thursday night, the night she went, or the day she went missing, and there were 100 people out searching for her, all yelling for her, she had to have heard it. Especially if Mr. Foster was right, and I'm sure he was, that that area was thoroughly searched. And then Friday morning, they went back out again and searched the area further on. So they had to walk through that area to get to the next area. If she was cold, as they said, I mean, it's rained and snowed the night before. You don't think she would have called for people? I think she would have. What was the day of the Roswell crash? Yeah, Roswell, New Mexico UFO crash. That happened July 7th, 1947. In a field, a UFO crashed. Lots of rumors that there were bodies, alive bodies, in association with that crash. This incident happened April 14th, 1949, 2 years after that crash. Do you know where the Roswell bodies supposedly went to? Yeah, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. The distance from the Foster farm to Wright-Patterson, 10 miles. Again, I keep going back to, how did Sandy get into an open field without any searchers seeing her? Kids don't walk in the dark. I'm sorry. That dog don't hunt. So that meant that she had to have been wandering in the daytime. What happened to her red cap? Mrs. Foster said that Sandy had never wandered away before. Why did she suddenly take off? On the swing, having fun. She's just going to walk 3/4 of a mile through a field by herself? Just for the kicks of it? I don't think so. The coroner stated that she died of exposure. Remember how I've told you before, if I give you GHB, you're going to lay there, and if it's cold outside, you're going to die of exposure because you won't be able to move. I just find the associations between factors in this amazing. And I don't believe that it's all as simple as people say. And I've said this before again, and I'll say it again and again and again. This incident happened when the victim, the child's father, was not on the site. Again and again and again this happens. It may mean nothing, it may mean something. I'm just giving you all the relevant facts. And remember at the beginning when I told you that some kids really never had a chance. It's like Sandy never had a chance at a normal childhood. Her mom and her dad not around her. She's raised by a family, I'm sure, that loved her, but she never had that chance. I don't know. I've had many people tell me over the years, and I know that people are going to get all upset at this, that your soul, your body's just your body. It dies, it goes away, but your soul's still there. And your soul goes to heaven. I've had people tell me, highly religious people, and I know that there's other religious people say, oh, that's a lie. Just bear with me, that souls get recycled. And you learn from your past experiences, but you don't remember your past experiences. So your behavior, your attitude, your outlook on life has something to do with your past lives. And then I've had other people tell me that what the aliens are after is your soul. Now again, I'm not arguing. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I think that the explanation that they're after our soul is an interesting one. But, okay, that was a Sandy Robison case. Next incident. This is an old case. One of the oldest ones I ever wrote about. Missing 411 North America. Back in the 1800s, when someone was a victim of something, they never listed their first name. Just their last name. And in this article, it said, the daughter of King. So Mr. King, Mrs. King. This girl was 6 years old. Missing August 19th, 1859. Long time ago. And none of the articles I ever reviewed stated the girl's name. All right? Now it's important that I give you this. So, the case we just looked at, here's Dayton, Ohio. This is where the incident happened. This incident, here's Dayton, Ohio, right there. Lima, Ohio. And it happened just north of Colita. The incident I'm going to tell you about. Do you remember in my movie when I highlighted Lima, Ohio? Do you? Missing 411, The Hunted. The case of a woman sitting in a hunting blind sees something best be described as, if you ever watch Predator, the movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger, the alien kind of thing that could go transparent. Woman saw something like that on a tree, reach out and grab another tree and pull itself to the other tree while she's in this hunting blind. Yeah. And then as that's going on, at the same time, just a few miles away, they have a relative that's in a band practicing on the field. And the whole band stops because they look up and there's a UFO right there. Simultaneously. It's a weird story. Missing 411, The Hunted. You can watch it right now on Amazon and Apple TV. So, is there a history of unusual things in Ohio? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I wasn't even looking for it when we made The Hunted. That one just fell into our lap. And then when we found the witness at the football field at band practice, couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. So, daughter of Mr. King. There are 4 major rivers within the Paulides city limits. Now, the Kings, Mrs. King and her 6-year-old daughter, were visiting a friend 4 miles north of the city. Not very far. August 19th, 1859, Mrs. King took a trip to visit with her family friends, and she takes her 6-year-old daughter. So it was a 4-mile trip, mom and daughter. They get there, they say hello, they all know each other, the 6-year-old, and the other family has an older daughter, they're friends. Well, the daughter from the other family invites the 6-year-old from the King family to walk with her because her job is to take some water out to her dad who's working out in the field. And the King family daughter says, yeah, I'll go with you. And is it okay, Mom? Yeah, go ahead and go. On the way out to the father in the field, the girls have some kind of disagreement. Very unclear what it was. But the King daughter gets upset to the point that she tells the other girl, I'm going to walk back to the house where my mom and your mom are at. And the 2 girls look, and you could see the house not that far away, but you could see it. And the one girl says, yeah, I saw her. She starts walking for the house. Point of separation. The other girl continues on, delivers the water to her dad, talks for a bit, and then turns around and walks back towards the house. She returns to the home, and she says, oh, where's so-and-so? And both women say, oh, I thought she was with you. And she said, no, we got into an argument, and as I was walking out there, she came back to the house. She said she was going to be here. The women say, no, she never got here. And the other girl says, no, she was here. No, she never came back. So the 3 get up, they start searching the yard, they start searching the farm, and then they have the girl go out and get the father and bring him back because now they've got a full-blown emergency and they can't find the girl. They search into the late afternoon, and then they send the girl and the father to local residences and to get them to respond to help look for this missing 6-year-old. That first night, they search way into the nighttime, calling her name, yelling, etc., etc. Nothing. Early Early the next morning, dozens of people arrive at the house, say, hey, we're here to help search. And they all searched about a 2-mile radius from the farmhouse. Imagine 1859, people are struggling to survive, and they drop everything just to help another family. That's friendship. That's taking care of one another. I'm not sure that families would do that today in the big city. I can tell you right now that the people here in Montana where I live don't have the same attitude that people have in Colorado and California where I came from. I bet $1,000 that if I went to 5 neighbors here who I know who they are, but I don't really know them. But if I asked them for help for anything, they'd all drop everything and come over and help. As an example, about 3 or 4 months ago, I had to go do an errand, and I'm driving down our road, and the guy is super icy out. And one of my neighbors slipped, and he drove his car off into the ditch. I pulled over, got out my rope, got out my winch, winched him out of the gully, and I followed him home to make sure that he didn't slip off anymore. But you don't even question that. And remember, we've talked about kindness before. But here, people don't think about not doing something. You just do it. Because the perspective is, that may be you next time. And you know what? It's the right thing to do, folks. Help people. All right. So, that's second day of searching. They continue out 2 to 3 miles. They're not finding anything. They're calling. And the search parties get bigger and bigger and bigger as more people tell their friends tell their friends tell their families. They're getting over 100 people now. Day 9 of the search. Remember, we're looking for a 6-year-old girl. The girl she was with was a couple years older. Day 9. Searchers are walking by an area that they've walked by many times. 2 miles from the farmhouse. They find the girl laying belly over a log. They called it draped over a log, naked. They stated that it's a spot that was frequently passed. Searchers went by this area regularly. But for the 9 days, if this girl was anywhere in the area, she never said a word. They never saw anything. They never saw any tracks. I ask you, a 6-year-old girl, missing. And she knows that she's real close and she has been visiting an older girl. 6-year-old girl's missing. Is she going to strip off all of her clothes, knowing maybe that this older girl's going to find her? I don't think so. I don't think so. They never found her clothes. With all the searching, where'd the clothes go? The article said that she had been dead only hours when she was found. You know what that makes me think? Weird. I know my mind thinks weird. Whoever, whatever had her, got rid of her after she died. No cause of death was ever listed. Remember this. Her father was not with the family when she disappeared. Remember that? Point of separation. When she walked away from that other girl, something happened. Water there were many creeks and rivers in this area. And the story was in Missing 411 North America. See, I really don't care about people that are going to harass me about these cases. Because people, I get emails from some of the smartest people you guys know. There's a lot of professors and super experienced search and rescue people that have emailed me in the last 3 years and said, Dave, you're onto something big. And don't listen to the idiots out there that want to harass you. But you're onto something really big. And when I go to the conferences, the people I know have consistently told me the same thing. And that's appreciated, folks. Now, nobody has ever tried to put all these elements together. No, never has happened. There was very little talk about missing people up to when I started this 14 years ago. Now there's a lot, which is good. I like people talking about it. But there's sites right now called Missing 411 that you can go to on YouTube. Hey, wait a minute, that's me. No, they stole it so they could get the views. Very frustrating. And people say, well, Dave, why are you mad about them publicizing a case? No, that's not it. Just don't use my book's name. I think that's obscene. Now, there's no doubt there's going to be more of these cases in the future. How could we educate people, and how could we minimize these things? I've said this many times, I'll say it again. Always stay in pairs. Always stay in pairs. How many times does this point of separation start in a situation that just gets out of control? Too many times to count. Well, getting a dog to stick with a child isn't going to help, because many times a dog is involved in the disappearance. Just the facts. If you live in a rural area and you can't keep your eyes on the child all the time, I'm not sure what I'd do. In this circumstance with the daughter of King and with Sandy Robison, both outside of a farm in a rural area, and they both disappear, unless you're standing right there, what could you do? And then remember that there's a lot of cases where the family says, yeah, I was standing right there and my child was right next to me and I turned my back and they were gone. And that's the part where physicist John Brandenburg told me in Vanished, well, Dave, that's a portal. It's something that came down and took that person away when your eyes weren't on it. Who am I to argue with a physicist? I'm just a dumb old writer. Now, I appreciate your comments about these things. And I do read every comment on every video. And every one of those comments is greatly appreciated. If you can give me a thumbs up for a video, if you like it, I appreciate it. People have told me that if you watch this on a TV, you can't give a thumbs up. Other people have said thumbs up isn't even an option on the videos I watch. Well, that's wild. So if you can, great. If you can't, I understand. And there is no algorithm that I know of where leaving a comment helps. So don't think you need to leave a comment. If you want to, that's great. I appreciate it. But don't just write comment and leave it. That doesn't do any good. In the meantime, thanks for being here. You are so appreciated. And remember, we've got this going on right now. Kickstarter. Go to kickstarter.com. Type in Missing 411 National Parks. This is going to be our next movie. We're over 50% towards complete funding. If we don't get our complete amount, according to the rules of Kickstarter, we get nothing. So if you could get that link and put on your social media, I'd be eternally blessed. And if you could donate, that's even better. You want to be in the movie? There's an option to be in the movie. In the meantime, be kind. Kindness is free. And I appreciate all the kind comments from you. And Huck says she appreciates all those kind things you guys say about her. She changed positions. And she's right here under the camera. In fact, she leaned over and she put her butt right up alongside the chair right there. So half of her butt will sit on my foot, so Dad can't get away without moving. You guys take care, be safe. Paulides out.